Well, welcome everybody to the Uncaptive Entrepreneur podcast. Tony Caldwell is an author and speaker, as well as co-founder and CEO of One Agents Alliance. Tony and his staff have helped independent agents create over 250 independent insurance agencies. You can learn more about him at oneagentsalliance.net. Hi, Tony. How are you?
Hey, I'm great, Angie. How are you?
I'm doing great. And yes, usually Tony is the host of this podcast. My name is Angie. I'm going to kind of host it today and interview him. So a little bit different. We are going to begin today talking about obviously everything going on with the pandemic. The nation is beginning to tentatively reopen after a period of quarantine and lockdown. Many Americans have seen significant impacts to their economic lives and businesses. What has been the impact on independent insurance agencies? Do you foresee future impact?
Well, that's a really interesting question because insurance agents are actually one of the groups of people who've come through so far relatively unscathed, but that's not going to be the continuing case. We think that agencies have got serious challenges in front of them for the next at least 12 months and probably 24 to 36, depending on how the economy shakes out. They're going to begin to see serious reductions in income depending upon the kind of business that they write and the book of business and how that's comprised. And so that's really what I wanted to talk with you today about, Angie, was, what's coming and then what can they do about it? I've got some really, I think, good suggestions for things to think about.
Well, okay, Tony, how are independent insurance agencies going to see revenue reductions?
There's really 4 or 5 different ways. In the first place, every business in America is under tremendous stress, as is every family. And so, particularly with business, but also with some personal insurance, there's going to be some people that just cancel their insurance. I mean, as businesses go bankrupt, they don't need insurance. They're going to cancel the insurance. That means a reduction or reversal, actually, of the commission that the agency's already earned. Related to that, there are going to be businesses that hang on, stay in business, maybe even recover, but they won't have the payroll or they won't have the sales volume that they did before all of this started. That means a lower premium for their renewal, and that means lower income for the agent. Worse, it means good news for the insured means they're going to get a refund of last year's premium, at least in part, but the agent will then be refunding his commission. So in addition to that, then their profit sharing is a very serious issue. Insurance agencies tend to receive most of the profit for the business in a year from something called profit sharing, which all agents are familiar with. It's a bonus that the carriers give at the end of the year based on profitability. Well, we're still going to have hail, wind, and fires, and yet the premium base is going to be less. That means the loss ratio goes up. Loss ratio goes up, no profit sharing. No profit for agencies. That shows up in 2021 and 2022. So serious challenges in the third and fourth quarters into the first several quarters of next year for the premium and commission piece. Bigger challenges coming in 2021 and 22 with profit sharing. All of that means lower income for the agency.
So what is unavoidable in the future?
Well, I think you have to start with the economic situation. None of us are in control of that. I mean, we're all really along for a ride driven by COVID. And so we don't yet know what the economic destruction is going to be, but we know it's going to be serious. Some of the large insurance carriers in the United States expect that they will see top line revenue reductions in 2020 of 20% or more. My own personal feeling is that most agencies are going to see anywhere from 15 to as much as 50% reduction in agency income. Those are reductions, whether you're a Fortune 500 company or a mom and pop shop in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, that are tough to survive without some changes. So, what's unavoidable is economic problems, and we don't know what the scale of those are. But I think we're beginning to see the outline of that. Right now, this week, unemployment in the United States is about 17%, 17.2%. But that's the nominal unemployment rate. The actual unemployment rate, when you bring in all the people who have quit looking for jobs, which most people right now are not looking for jobs. They're still, at home. They can't look for a job. You take that, you take the claims that haven't yet been recorded, the real unemployment rate is around 27%. It hasn't been that bad since 1940. Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve System, expects unemployment to go up another 10 points over the next 90 days. What does that mean? 36, 37, 40% unemployment? In an economy that is 70% driven by consumer spending, that doesn't look very good. You know, and unemployment going up is really unavoidable. In fact, it'd be much higher today, except for the payroll protection plan loans that were made, as you know, in March and April. Those monies run out beginning next week. Many employers kept folks on the payroll because of that support. When it's gone, what happens? So that's really concerning, you know. And then a lot of the restaurants that close aren't going to come back. Those that do come back, some of them won't stay back. You know, airline industry, it's predicted that it's not going to recover for 4 or 5 or 6 years. Manufacturing's got huge problems. Distribution's got big problems. So this economic situation that we're in, which is likely to be affected, from most economists I read, anywhere from 3 to 5 years from now, that means lower premiums are going to get paid by individuals and businesses, and it means lower commissions are going to be paid to insurance agencies. So, you know, I think agents have got to take a serious look at this and say, you know what, we've been lucky so far, but we have headwinds coming, and those headwinds might turn into a storm. We've got to get ready.
Wow. Well, obviously that brings us to our next question. You know, is it hopeless? You know, what is next, especially for those insurance agencies that are insuring restaurants and hospitality and different things like that?
Well, you know, I think it's a complicated situation, and the answer is it depends. So some agencies, and you know, I know a couple of colleagues who focus on the hospitality industry. I think that unless they're able to really gin up their new business production in a completely different way, their survival is at risk. You know, one of the things that's been lost in all of this discussion about COVID is that we also have a gigantic problem with the energy industry. You know, oil is, it's recovered to $30 a barrel, but who knows what it'll be. There's expected to be a wave of bankruptcies filed throughout the oil patch over the next 2 to 3 months. So if an agency is heavily focused in that area, either with oil and gas producers or service businesses, well, they've got a really serious problem. Okay. Outside of that, though, I don't think that I would characterize it as hopeless. In fact, I would say that there's tremendous opportunity available to some agents right now, and maybe some who want to be.
That's great. Well, good. What can an agency owner do about all of this?
Well, you know, before I answer that question, just to put an exclamation point, if I can, on my optimism, let me say that I think that this is right now the best time in the history of the world to start an insurance agency. Wow. And yeah, I mean, so that's pretty optimistic, right? In fact, if I weren't already in the insurance business, I'd be wanting to get in the insurance business right now.
Why is that?
Well, I mean, think about it. With all the stress and all the people out there who are looking at how to cut their expenses, okay, they're going to say, gosh, is there a way I can reduce my insurance expense? Mm-hmm. So what that means is every policy, whether it's a homeowner's policy or a policy for a business, is going to be on the streets. Consumers, business and personal, are going to be looking to reduce their coverages. Now, what we know about human nature is, unfortunately, that many people, when disaster comes, they crawl in the fetal position. And many agency owners are going to do the same thing, and they're not going to take care of business. And that means that aggressive new owners of businesses, insurance agency businesses, can go after that business and grow very rapidly from the beginning in an environment for them that's ideal. Okay. But you ask, what can the agency owner that's already in business do? And I think they need to be aware of that threat, because it's also an opportunity for them. So the first thing that any agency owner has got to do is talk to every single one of their clients and say, hey, Angie, what's going on in your life? What's your life like? What's your business like? What's the outlook for that? How can I help? And then be proactive about suggesting ways to save money on their insurance. Independent agencies have the ability to really market broadly those policies and drive down the cost for their clients and keep them. So the first thing that any agency has to do is focus on retention, focus on keeping the clients they've already got.
That's a great point. And then I assume life insurance, people are going to be looking, when they're talking to their clients, they're looking at life insurance a little differently now than they may have been a few months ago.
It's funny. I've had almost every disreputable job in the economy. I've been a life insurance agent, for example, and then I was a preacher, and then followed that by a politician. So I know how to get avoided at cocktail parties. Okay. But anyway, I started right out of college as a life insurance agent. You tell people, say, what do? You say, I'm a life insurance agent. They go, they go the other way.
Oh,
that's what many agents think about life insurance. They don't want to talk about it. They hate to talk about it. But the truth is that everybody is more aware of their own mortality right now than they've been in a really long time. And most people want to talk about life insurance. So I think for agents, it's almost professional malpractice not to bring it up. Life insurance companies are swamped with applications right now. Wow. The good news for agencies is that, and they all know this already, right? Life insurance pays big commissions. What a time to get paid a big commission when your commissions on your other business are going down. So yeah, that's one of the things that I do think agents, need to focus on. In line with that though is, okay, once you've done everything you can do to keep the business that you've got, and you've reached out to your clients and you have had that conversation about life insurance, then you've got to get really focused on selling new business. And again, I'm highly optimistic here for many agents. I'm not for all agents. And there's some reasons why I'm bullish on some and bearish on others.
Yeah. So like you said, there's more interest on the streets, to look around at different insurance agencies. Is that what you mean?
Well, no, sort of. I mean, I think that everybody's going to shop their insurance. So you can do it for your own clients and keep them. But you can also you can shop the insurance for people who are not your clients, whose agent is not doing it for them. Again, what I've noticed in crisis is there's two kinds of people. There's those who roll up their sleeves, dig in, and get with the program and really make a difference in the crisis, right? Those people become heroes. Other people crawl into the fetal position. So, 3 months, 6 months from now, there's still going to be agents that are at home in bed with the sheets pulled over their head. And the aggressive agent needs to go after their business, and they will. The problem is that many agency owners have been in business for a really long time, and they've got a really good business and a great lifestyle, and they don't have to sell a lot of new business. Selling muscles are just like any other muscle. You got to exercise it. So many people are out of practice, and they're out of practice at marketing. So this is the time to dust off, the selling equipment in your agency and really get after it. Because if you don't, you're not going to make up the loss of income we've been talking about.
Interesting. Well, okay. So beyond the obvious reasons for helping customers get the lowest premium, are there other reasons for focusing on premium price?
Well, sure. Our commissions are based on that. So, the higher you can keep your premiums, then obviously the higher you're going to keep your income. So, that's really the issue. One interesting thing is that many insurance companies, though, even though they're facing tremendous top line losses themselves because of all the things we've talked about, are still planning to increase their prices. We've had a really tough market for automobile insurance from the carrier perspective. They've been losing money on automobile insurance for years and have raised prices a lot, creating a lot of pain for agents and for the buyers of auto insurance. Carriers we're talking to say they plan to continue to raise prices because they're still not profitable. So this just makes worse this whole problem. And so And it also creates opportunity for agents. We were entering a hardening property market where property prices were going up on property insurance. We're seeing that continue. And so, insurance carriers may change their minds. They may moderate their positions. But if they don't, it makes the consumer's problem that much worse. And it really increases the agent's opportunity if they're aggressive about it, because more people are frustrated and scared, and paying high prices means more opportunity for agents who are aggressive about their sales and marketing policies and practices.
So how specifically can an agency owner take advantage of rising premium prices?
Well, they've got to get out in the marketplace and solicit new business. And really, they've got to also think about the impact of not necessarily new technology, but technology that everyone has discovered. So you and I are having this great conversation today on Zoom. And who ever heard of Zoom 4 months ago?
I know.
Right?
I know.
So I've been talking for 4 or 5 years about the coming day in which all of us built and managed relationships across the world face to face on things like Zoom. But we have a robot actually in our office. We call it a telepresence robot. You can beam in and roll around the office and have conversations with people. Lots of us think it's kind of funny. It's a gag. It's not a gag. We have employees now in 4 states, 5 different cities, because we've escaped our geography. Well, agents need to start thinking the same way because of tools like Zoom that every consumer in America is now familiar with. The typical independent insurance agent has had a market based on his hometown. Perhaps it was her home state, but that's really about it, because they couldn't get to face-to-face in front of people a long way away. Today they can. So geography is one of the gigantic changes in this industry. It no longer matters. Geography just doesn't matter anymore. There's 2 huge opportunities that presents to the forward-thinking insurance agent. The first one is what we've been talking about, which is, I don't even know I didn't ask you, Angie, where you're coming to me, our conversation today, but it could be anywhere. And so we could have a conversation about insurance, literally from anywhere. So it means that aggressive agents need to broaden their market approach. Now, as you do that, you have to be thoughtful about it. My suggestion is that agents who all have heard about, maybe some have used this technique called niche marketing or niche marketing. I'm going to be, maybe I'm just going to go out and get all the barbershops I can to be and I'm going to learn everything there is to know about barbershops. I had a friend in New Jersey he was the king of pizza insurance, and he was hilarious. He was tells great stories about pizza joint operators. But you no longer can you just focus on being a barbershop guy or a pizza guy or something like that in your hometown. You could literally do it every town in America, because geography doesn't count anymore. So you can go really, really narrow on your market, but really wide on your prospects using technology. So that's one of the opportunities for agents. The other big problem that this technology solves for agents is finding great people. In our business forever, it's been really hard for maybe the last 25 years to find great people. And if you live in a smaller community or a smaller city, not one of the major money centers, we're in Oklahoma City. We just got named yesterday the 25th largest city in the country.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of cool. But what I know is that the people in Dallas, they have a lot more choices for employees than I do. Well, you know what? I'm now you can be in Dallas and work for us. It doesn't matter. We have employees in California, and Missouri and Oklahoma and Arkansas. And so agents need to start thinking about how they hire and where they hire from, because they can have great producers now in Wyoming or Wisconsin, even if their office is in Florida, and they can produce business there just like they were. The guy was coming out of the office every day. So that's an enormous opportunity. Some agents are going to take advantage of it, and they're going to do really well. But for the agencies that are not forward looking, it presents a really serious threat to them.
That's interesting. So many, it seems like, businesses and industries have gone that same way, and the mindsets that are, a little more, can I say, stubborn? Like, I don't want to get into the new technology. I don't want to, those are the ones that suffer. So
Yep.
yeah, that makes sense.
So,
okay, well then tell me what the threat is then.
I'm so glad you asked me that question because, it's great to maximize opportunities, but if you're bankrupt because you didn't address your threats, it's pointless, right? So here's the threat. So if you don't use this technology to grow your business, but somebody else does, they're going to steal your customers. So think about it. I mean, if you're in Ardmore, Oklahoma, 35, 40,000 people, there's a bunch of agencies there, but now people, not just from Oklahoma City, can come in and sell insurance in Ardmore, Oklahoma, but people from Seattle, Washington can do the same thing, or Washington, D.C. or New York City. I mean, they can come right into your backyard. So agents, one of the things that's going to happen as a result of this is agents are going to face more competition than they've ever faced before. And that's a threat. More opportunity, but more competition. So they got to think about how they're going to deal with that.
And the way that they deal with that is obviously listening to you with OAA, because you can help them out. Well, are there other? Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, what, I might not be able to, but we have these, our companies, we have a lot, 25 really smart people. And we do have people called agency growth coaches who have insurance agency management experience. And they also are talking every day to state-of-the-art operators about, state-of-the-art stuff. Everyone in our business talks, Angie, about best practices. It's like best practices. That's the thing. I hear about that all the time. And when I hear best practices, what I think about is, okay, people who are following best practices have gotten really good at being average. So yeah, if you want to make money in the world, you want to grow a business in the world, you can't be great at being average. You've got to think of new ways to do things. So our growth coaches are, right on the cutting edge. And what they do actually is work with agents, all over a number of states on that kind of stuff. We've got some really innovative and unique forward-thinking agencies that we learn from. So I have some ideas, but I'm a part of a big brain power organization that's got probably 700 people in it, all using their brains to do, new things.
That's great. That's a great resource.
It's fun.
Yeah, I bet. Are there other ways that an agency owner can maximize revenue besides aggressively marketing?
Yeah, I think the thing that often gets left behind is managing the book of business. So when I was recently researching my new book, Uncaptive Agent, and I was looking at a lot of benchmarking data about how many insurance companies the typical insurance agency has an appointment with. And it's really kind of surprising. I mean, like agencies with less than $1 million in revenue with 17 insurance companies, and agencies with, $1 million, $2 million, $3 million in revenue, 30 companies. Well, that's really hard, first of all, to know their market appetite, their underwriting appetite. And it's real expensive to spend the time to talk to their people and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of overhead costs in that. But the biggest problem is it fragments the book of business for the agent. So, and the way profit sharing works with every company I know of, they have growth requirements. And they also pay more money the bigger your book of business gets. So if you think about it like this, you say, hey, if you asked an agent, you said, how much premium volume is in your agency? And they said, well, $5 million. And you said, how many companies do you have? And they said, we have 10. So, okay, that's an average of 500,000. So that means they'd be on the low end. If they, had 500 with each of their companies, they'd be on the low end of the profit sharing payment, maybe getting 0.5 point, 1 point, 1.5%. Whereas if you said, hey, you got 5 million and you have 5 companies, well, now you have $1 million average. Now maybe you're getting 2 or 3% or 4% bonus at the end of the year. So having too many companies hurts your profit sharing payout, and it does it now in a time when it's going to be tough to make it anyway. The second thing is when you fragment your premium, it's harder it's more volatile. The book is more volatile, and it's harder to maintain a positive forward momentum on that. It's going to be hard to do in the next couple of years anyway, with all the problems with premium I talked about, but it's harder still when you have too many companies. So one of the things that, and agents, the thing that keeps them up at night is, oh my God, an insurance company's going to cancel my contract. I mean, everyone hates that. It's a little bit like, having a closet full of clothes you haven't worn for 5 years. You never wear the clothes. They're just taking up space, but you're afraid to get rid of them, or you're loath to get rid of them because, well, it costs money to get them, and we don't want to give that up. But by not giving it up, we don't have the ability to buy any new ones. So in the same way, having too many companies is kind of it makes agents feel secure, but it actually is hurting their security right now.
Interesting.
Yeah. So one of the strategies that agents can use is to get rid of some insurance companies and take that business that was with company A, move it to company B, make more profit sharing, but also it's new business to company B. So negotiate a new business incentive from company B and make more commission on it. Now, in addition to that, so now you got more profit sharing and you have more commission. And right now, carriers, they're desperate for volume. So as I've said, they're all going to lose 20 or 25% of their top line. They have very limited ability to reduce their expenses. I mean, they spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars training underwriters, and they can't just get rid of them and hope to get them back a year from now when they need them again. So they also can't make money. I mean, they're going to lose money at 20% top line, when their bottom lines are 5 or 6%, 8%, they can't, they're going to lose it. They're going to have a bloodbath. So they are really interested in any new business they can get. So there's something called a book roll. It's a term everybody listening to us will know. What we're seeing is unbelievable offers on book rolls. We've been offered as much as 40% commission, new business commission for book rolls for some of our agencies. Well, that's a godsend to the agent who's willing to shrink his number of agencies and focus on just a few. So in the first place, most agents have too many. It's just like they got too many old clothes in their closet. They need to get rid of them anyway. But now you get an enormous payment for those old clothes. You bought a pair of jeans for $50. Someone's willing to give you $300 today. That's an opportunity they ought to take advantage of.
Interesting. So if they're nervous though about doing that, about cutting, like you said, what do they do? What would you say to them to ease that nervousness? To say, oh, here's how the future is going to pan out. Okay.
Well, in terms of carriers, I think, look, one of my friends made the comment. He said, there's two kinds of businesses today in this COVID environment. One is getting their ass kicked, and the other one is kicking ass. And I think you got to decide, where are you in that, spectrum, right? So I personally think if I was faced with losing 10, 15, 20%, 25% of my revenue over the next couple of years even, but certainly over the next year, I would be thinking I'm getting my ass kicked group. Okay. So the first thing, that's hard. I mean, agencies are growth oriented. They all want to grow. I mean, I want to grow the business area. I don't want to go backwards. We got to get over ourselves, and we've got to say, you know what, we can't let our egos be in the way here. And we know we have to make tough decisions. There's some other tough decisions that we have to make besides carriers, but sometimes you have to part company with something. I don't know, a number of years ago, I got to go on a ropes course, and it was interesting. There was a challenge at tire swings, and you had to move from one tire swing to the next one to the next one. And I couldn't do it. I would reach out and grab the next tire swing, and I'd get spread eagled and fall on the ground. And then the lady that was running the ropes course, I'll never forget her, Scout Cloud Lee. I mean, she was She was a Earth Mother hippie type person, wonderful human being, but very perceptive and really smart. And she said, if you're not willing to turn loose of the past, you can't seize the future.
That's good.
Yeah. So yeah, it's scary. It is scary, right? But we've got to behave differently in scary times than we do in normal times. And so all of us that want to be successful in the future are going to have to make changes to our business. And that may be saying goodbye to something that we've cherished even or counted on in the past. And that might be an insurance company. So look at the ones you need to keep, the ones that treat you the best, the ones that have the most potential for the future. Keep those and get rid of the other ones and turn that into money.
Yeah, there you go. Play a little offense and not defense, maybe.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Yep. So,
defense keeps you from losing. Offense is what wins.
Interesting. That's a good way to look at it. Sometimes you can only do so much by boosting the top line. What about expenses?
Well, I do think this is an area where every business needs to focus. And we went through this. So the first thing that we did the first week of March, because I could see this coming, was I sat down with my CFO and I said, okay, let's try to work our way through this. And we spent several hours and we haircut our revenue estimates. We do a budget every year like everybody, or like everybody should do. And we do a rolling 12 and a rolling 18-month forecast. So we're constantly up to date. And we took our 18-month forecast out and we whacked 20%. I mean, and we said, hey, this is what happens at 20%. Now what do we do to make it up? And so I think that's a good thing for everybody to do, is to make your own estimate of what your situation looks like. If it's 20%, fine. If it's 30%, whatever it is. And then ask yourself, how do you climb out of that hole? Okay, part of it's new business. The other piece is revenue cuts. And so our company has a motto for the year, and it's called, does it make the boat go faster? And so we ask ourselves, based on it, there's a fabulous book out there called "Does It Make the Boat Go Faster?" There's a movie. If you're listening, go Google the movie. Does it the video? Does it make the boat go faster? On YouTube, and you'll love it. I mean, it's very inspirational. But everything, we decided we weren't going to do anything this year that doesn't make the boat go faster. So we went through our expense side of our profit and loss statement and said, does this make the boat go faster? Yes, we're keeping it. No, we're getting rid of it. And we just got rid of a lot of things we were used to spending money on. You spend money personally, you spend money professionally out of habit. My wife and I, we ate out 7 nights a week out of habit. We haven't eaten out in 3.5 months. And it's, so we didn't die. In fact, I gained some weight. So she hasn't. No, she hasn't, but I have. But so we do things out of habit. So get out of the habit of spending money you don't need to spend. Now, with that said, there is, something that some agencies are going to have to take a hard look at because people costs over 50% of the expense piece. And so you got to look at the people too.
Your employees is what you're referring to.
Yeah, I am. And all of us have really highly trained customer service people and other folks in our agencies that many of them have been with us for a long time. And you don't want to get rid of those people if you can at all avoid it. And I'm not suggesting that we do, but if your business doesn't support it, you've got to take a look at that. Okay. One of the places that some agents ought to look is at their commission expense, their producers' expenses. It's pretty well established that the most profitable agencies in the country don't pay more than 30 to 35% of their agency commission out as commissions to commercial producers, salespeople. And they don't pay more than 20 to 25% to personal lines agents, right? They have to minimize or keep the agent commission at that level in order for the agency to make money. But there's a lot of agencies out there that are paying 40%, 50%, or even more than that to their producers. This is the time to cut producer commission and get that in line. The agency needs that money. So whether you're leaving people behind, or as some of the larger agencies in America, like Arthur Gallagher and Hub and some of those others are they're reducing people's compensation. But the only way many agencies are going to make it through, unfortunately, is to be somewhat serious about cutting their payroll expenses one way or the other.
Yeah, that's when it's hard. That's when, obviously that you have to make hard decisions, really tough decisions for sure.
No, I mean, you really do. And it's painful because, sometimes agencies have employees for a really, really long time. But, one way to measure this that I think is really, really valuable is something called spread. And if agencies will look at their spread, it'll tell them if they need to make that change. So let me just talk about that for just a second, if I might, because spread really is just the difference between what you pay, the average pay in an agency and the average revenue per employee in the agency. And that's a measure of gross profit. And if you'll figure out your spread, let's say your revenue is $150,000 per person and your costs are $100,000 per person, spread's $50,000. And if you'll look at there's benchmarking studies out there. The Reagan and Associates publishes one for the Independent Agents and Brokers of America, and the Certified Insurance Counselor Organization, the National Academy, produces another one, and they both measure spread. And so if you'll look at what the typical or average agency's spread is given your part of the country and your size of agency, and compare it to your own, you'll see whether whether there's something that needs attention. The one caveat or reminder that I'd have for the agency owner that's doing that is be sure you measure spread based on where you think your revenue is going to end up, not where it is today. Because if you do it where it is today, it's going to be meaningless, right? So you got to look at 12 months and say, all right, I have $1 million revenue agency, but I think next year I'm going to be a $900,000 revenue agency. Use 900,000 to measure spread. That way it'll tell you, hey, I'm in good shape, or I've got to make changes and I've got a year to get it done.
Well, what is your message to insurance agency owners who are feeling uneasy?
Well, my first message is if you're not feeling uneasy, you need to get your temperature taken because something's wrong with you. I mean, this is a time that everybody's impacted. I mean, there isn't anybody that's going to escape this. If you think you're immune to it, you got a problem. So I think, the first thing is figure out where you are. Do a SWOT analysis, do a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis on your business. I wrote a book recently with Matt Masiello, the CEO of Strategic Insurance Agents Alliance, and Eric Blue, another colleague of mine who does what I do in Pennsylvania with the Pennsylvania Insurance Agents Alliance, called COVID Proof Your Agency. And in that, we looked at, what are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for the average independent agent? And then what are the things they need to be doing in the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 18 months to make sure they come through this in really good shape? So my first recommendation would be, hey, check the book out. It's available at covidproofyouragency.com. And we've got a bunch of tools to help you think that through that process there on the website. You can download them for free. The book is free. We're not trying to sell books. We just are trying to put some information into the world. So I'd say that's the second thing. The third thing, and the real message, Angie, is that, it's normal to be scared right now. I mean, and again, if you're not a little scared, you need to check your pulse, but it's normal. I watched a movie the other day and about a surfing kid, and it was great. He was freaking out, and his mentor said, look, it's normal to be afraid. It's normal to be frightened, but and it's okay to be scared. What's not okay is to panic. And I thought, man, that is exactly right. So don't panic. We have time in our business. We have a few months to get on top of this. So don't panic. Be scared, but don't panic. And then remember, there's always opportunity in crisis, and entrepreneurs are going to take advantage of that. So, like we said, go sell new business, use technology. Do all these things to reassure your clients and customers that they're going to be okay. You're going to be there for them. Sell them life insurance. Do all these things, but don't panic. Use that fear to motivate you. And again, there are going to be two kinds of folks that come out of this. I've seen it before. I had a partner in an agency once, and he got into trouble, and he just sat in his office for a year and watched his book shrivel up and die. And then he had to, go do something else for a living. That can happen to people. My other partner and I, the same thing was happening to us. We went out and just sold our butts off, and we came out of it bigger, better, and stronger than before. It's a choice you get to make, and, you need to make it. Don't let somebody else make it for you. And you'll be fine. There's more opportunity than there is downside for people who are going to be aggressive, ambitious, forward thinking, and the like. And that's why I'm really excited for those folks, because they're going to be feasting on the bones of the people who don't do that.
Well, and I really appreciate, because obviously, I have insurance, all of us do. But I appreciate what you said earlier, that, call your people. Call your clients, talk to them, figure out where they are. It's that personalized, when you know that your insurance cares about you, that you're not just one of the numbers and things like that. But, when you can let your clients know that, you are there for them, and you want to make sure that you can help meet their needs. That's good.
Yeah. You said care for them. And it just reminds me of something that has bothered me for many years about our business, and it's a real threat for some agents out there. And so I just say, if this describes you, realize it's a threat, but it's not too late to fix it. And that is that over the last couple of decades, many agencies have moved, especially in the personal insurance space. And I would say this, personal insurance, they have less threat in some ways than a commercial lines agency. But many personal insurance agents, in particular, some commercial agents, have really focused as their primary value to their client being cheap, price. Geico and Progressive and other companies like that have really promoted that. Right. And consumers have responded to it. And so there are many agencies out there whose books of business are full of, and they're not really clients, they're customers. And there's a difference between a client and a customer, if you ask me. But anyway, they're full of customers that are in their agency because they offered them a cheap price. Mm-hmm. Those are the people who are going to be on the street asking every other agent in town to quote their insurance. Mm-hmm. Because they don't feel like there's any reason they shouldn't, because they don't have a connection or personal connection to their agent, because their agent isn't calling them up a couple times a year, checking in, isn't having that conversation that I think that I'm encouraging everybody to have, which is, hey, how's it going for you? What's happening in your life? Did you got laid off? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Now, can I have a copy of your resume and I'll be sure and put it out among my friends. Caring about people right now will go a long, it should be the case for every agent all the time. But if you're doing that now, it's different. Now it's a relationship with a human being, not just a policy. It's not just a transaction. But if the agent is just a transaction, then they have a serious problem, because those people are going to be shopping their insurance everywhere. And unless that agent can deliver the cheapest price, again, they won't keep it. Mm-hmm. They may not shop every year. Most consumers only shop their insurance every 3 or 4 or 5 years, but everybody's going to shop this year. So, you could lose a ton of business. Mm-hmm. So you've got to, this is the time to really, if you don't have relationships, this is the time to build them. If you have relationships, this is the time to nurture them.
good. And to think outside the box, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, it's something that we should do all the time. It's just sometimes I think people get really busy and they forget. So this is the time to remember.
Good stuff. Well, thank you so much, Tony. Some very good information there. Tony Caldwell is co-founder and CEO of One Agents Alliance. He's an author and a speaker. Tony and his staff have helped independent agents create over 250 independent insurance agencies, making OAA one of the U.S.'s largest regional insurance distributors with over $500 million in sales, and the #1 ranked strategic master agency of SIAA with more than 185 agency partners and over 200 locations. Go to oneagentsalliance.net for free resources helpful to independent insurance agencies and those who want to be independent agents. For more about how you can COVID-proof your agency, go to covidproofyouragency.com.